So, like I said, I have a question up there. If anybody has tried something crazy or heard of something crazy, I know I've heard of things like the potato diet. Yeah, cutting carbs and sugar and dairy for almost 95% for a few weeks. Um, yeah, there's a lot of crazy things that is out there. And the thing is, a lot of them work, but they're not practical. Like when we think about like cutting carbs, well, if I cut carbs, I'm really just reducing the amount of calories that I'm taking in. So obviously I'm going to lose weight because I'm just eating less and it's of a particular food. And so it's the same thing when people had the low fat phase of like the 80s and the 90s. We saw the same thing where just if I cut out certain food groups or I don't eat for a certain time, the same way we see with fasting, you naturally eat less. But what a lot of us probably feel like is just it doesn't fit with life. It doesn't fit with like the natural theme of life, the natural way we want to live. Like cutting out carbs, like our favorite night of the week is pizza night on Fridays. Like I could not live without carbs. So that's something we wanted to talk through today. Like, what is sustainable? What is simple? Especially for parents and people who aren't 22, 23, 24, and may have all the time in the world, but they just you can't do the same thing that they're doing. You can't spend hours working out. You can't do all that time because time is limited. So what does that look like? How do we change the narrative around what health looks like for parents, what health looks like for people who are in their 30s, who are in their 40s, who just want to see results that is simple they incorporate into their life. So before I get too far, I should probably introduce myself and kind of what we try to do. So my name's Josh, and my wife Brittany and we started Pretty Healthy Family probably about 4 to 5 years ago. But both of us have been coaches for 10 to 15 years. And we saw there was a gap in the market where everyone seemed to be talking about health and nutrition to certain individuals. It was more about the younger generations, and that just didn't work for our life anymore. And we felt lost. And so we tried to struggle through and find our way. And through that process, we noticed how some of these different strategies really work for other people. So that's really where Pretty Healthy Family started to take off. And so we started taking some of these ideas and simple strategies and helping other people see results. And that's how we've been able to see other people get results like Blake. He's in that top left corner. He's lost over 100 pounds going through the program. We have Kasha. She's in her mid to late 40s. She has like a definite six pack. Paul, he is a restaurant manager. So restaurant managers, it's always chaotic. There's weird hours. He had his 40th birthday last week, and he looks like a Marvel superhero. So Derek was a guy who came to us. We tried to like set him up on tracking like MyFitnessPal, and he just said the stress of tracking was was like more harmful than good. Like because there was so much stress with tracking that he ended up eating more as a result of that. So we decided not to track. And he's down 30 pounds and again, best shape of his life. Some people are only able to get 3 workouts in. Other people need a better relationship with food. All these things we try to personalize our approach with every single person that comes through because we know as you get older, things happen and everyone has a different timetable and everyone has a different experience and history with diet and exercise, but there are some similarities. There are some things that work for every single person. That's the stuff we wanted to talk through today is what are those things that work for everybody and that's going to help everyone be successful. That's what we thought would make a great webinar. So that's what we want to talk through. We want to talk through protein, calories, the workouts, what are the things that help people be successful. But I do want to frame that a little bit differently because I don't want this to be the same thing you've you've heard before. And this is where I need to rely on all of you to maybe speak up or throw something in the chat. Because if I say eat less, move more, you've heard this before. If you think about I need to work out, that's stuff you know the stuff you need to do. And it's how or why or those are the things that we need to talk through of how are we going to be successful? Because I know what to do. I'm just having difficulty doing it. So we have these struggles for all of our parents. It's time, money, it's energy. My son woke up at 2 in the morning this morning, and I I don't have the energy. I needed another cup of coffee. My workout wasn't as great. These are things that you don't run into when you're 22, 23, 24 years old that you have to deal with as a parent. And you're probably working, you have a career, you have people who are probably working under you. You're more important in your career. You can't just take off at a moment's notice. So these are things that as parents you have to deal with that other people in other situations they don't. And I know talking with my wife, she feels that responsibility of the health of the family is on her shoulders in what she's cooking and I feel the same way and when what we're eating again this is a different style of pressure that other people don't have to deal with. So what is going to keep you consistent? What's going to keep you successful? That's really what we want to talk about today. Um, so I want to just, I guess, talk about like the elephant in the room. Like, how did we get here? We know what we need to do, but how did we get here? And this is something, if you don't get this part, the rest of this is probably not gonna make as much sense. There was a old kind of coach mentor that I used to have, and he used to say, people do what they do because it made sense at the time. And even when he said it at the beginning, I didn't get it. But the more I thought about what he's saying, it does make sense. People do what they do because it made sense at the time. And I have a picture of myself like right after a divorce, like a year or two after my divorce, and then me now. And I was struggling back then. And when I was under that pressure and struggling and didn't know where to turn, I would do things that made sense at the time. And I feel like a lot of other people can resonate with that because when you're feeling stressed, all of a sudden I'm eating a sleeve of cookies when normally I wouldn't have eaten that. But I feel that stress. And in the moment, the sleeve of cookies made sense at the time. And maybe I'm overeating or maybe I'm working late because that's what makes sense at the time, even though when we zoom out, that wasn't the healthiest decision. So there's so many times where we feel that there's stress involved, and that stress really pushes us to make more unconscious decisions or unhealthy decisions that usually lead to kind of the results that we're in right now. And I guess with a thumbs up or chat or coming off mute, does that make sense to you? Does that land with anybody here? Yeah. Anybody else? We do what we do because it made sense at the time. And I think for so many of us, like we're trying to do our best. And when we're trying to do our best, these like the sleeve of cookies made sense, the extra slice of pizza, the drink, the extra email at like 9:30 at night when we know we should be doing our wind down routine or whatever that looks like. It made sense because we feel that pressure. So creating a better response to that pressure is really the underlying skill that we need to develop to be able to do the nutrition, to do the workouts, to do all that stuff. And that's kind of what we like to talk about in our program. And then, again, we're going to try to give as much info in here as we can. So on that journey to figure out what that could look like for us, what that healthy version of us is, again, going to ask for you guys to chime in here. if you're going to finish this sentence, when I'm at my best, I'm what? And I'll frame it a little bit in that when I'm at my best, I'm creative. When I'm at my best, I feel happy. I'm in a better mood. Um, I'm calm. I have less stress. When I'm at my best, I'm what? Anybody have any really, what's their insight on when I'm at my best, I'm what? How would you finish that sentence? Alert and energetic. I love it. Yeah. Yeah, because many times it's I have the energy. And especially if you're at work, showing up at work, I like to be able to think through things and analyze things really quickly and be able to give a great response back because being good at my job helps me feel better about how I'm showing up, which is kind of the point. I want to feel great about how I'm showing up in the world. And so then we start thinking about who deserves my best. Like if I'm alert, energetic, if I'm creative, if I'm in a good mood, who deserves my best? What do you think? Yeah, family and friends. I think that's a an easy one that we all go to is my family, like my son, he deserves my best. I think about me as a father. Like I want to guide him in the way that I want him to be an amazing adult, an amazing contribution to the world and provide. But that starts with me. So how I'm showing up really is going to show him how to be an adult. So we have our family and our friends, they deserve our best. And we talk about work is another area where if I'm doing a great job at work, I feel like I'm a great provider, which then goes into the family and friends. It goes into the family portion where I feel like I'm doing my part for the family. But a one that I feel like we often overlook is I'm doing my best for me. I'm reading this book now. It's called Soulful Spirituality. And its whole premise is the best way to human is to be the fullest version of yourself. So, how can I be alert and energetic more often? How can I be creative and happy more often? That is the best version of me. And when I'm at my best, I'm a better influence for my family. I'm a better friend for the people that I really care about. I'm a better employee, I'm a better entrepreneur, whatever that may be, because I am the best version of myself in all these areas. And that's where I feel like I'm doing a good job. And that largely leads to what is that impact? I always think of like my eulogy, and I know it's kind of dark, but when I'm at my funeral and everyone's saying like Josh was this person, Josh was that person. If I'm at my best from now until that day, that's a very different story than me at my best if I if I wasn't at my best for that whole trajectory until that dying day. And the same thing goes for family and friends, like the friends that and connections that you make if you're not at your best, there's tension in that relationship between your family and friends. If I'm not at my best, my family may not take the road where that's the best road for them. Like there's a lot of repercussions when I don't show up as my best. So that's really how we like to ground people into what does it look like? Because I'll be honest, sometimes what's going to help me be my best is a slice of pizza. It's the Oreo. It's the drink. It's the answering the emails because sometimes that helps me be my best. But I also need to zoom out and think, what is the big picture? What is allowing me to be my best 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years, 20 years from now? And so that's what we want to talk about. What are the actions that help us lead to that like best life and how I can be consistent with that like best version of me. And so we like to say there's three kind of pillars to this. There's the workouts that make sense. And I'll go into like what workouts make sense in a minute. Simple meals. You can have the best workout plan, you can have the best meal plan, but if it's too complicated, you're probably not going to do it because it just adds more stress on like on a life that's already overstressed. And awareness, it has a little key next to it, but that's because it's the key to make sure that you're consistent with your workouts. You're consistent with your nutrition. Again, if I am too stressed, I'm going to default to these unhealthy habits. If I can build that awareness to notice, oh, I'm a little bit too stressed here, I'm a little bit too stressed there, I need to mitigate that stress because when I do that, it's going to help me be more consistent with my nutrition. It's going to help me be more consistent. So, how do we lower our stress to make things simple to allow you to be more consistent, which helps you get the results? And that's how this whole thing ends up being the fastest fat loss, is because you can be consistent with the simple things, and that's how you get results. This is the what is simple. The problem is I have hard time getting it done. So let's dive into the workout. So what I always say is the best strategy for busy parents, that's full body workouts. And I say this because of like the situation last night. My son woke up at 2 in the morning. He had a nightmare. It took about half hour, an hour for him to calm down. But as a result, I didn't have a great workout this morning. I had to give it like 60, 70%. And if I had let's say, a body part split, and today was leg day, I couldn't give it my all. Or I had a push-pull leg split, and today was leg day. I wouldn't be able to give it my all. And then if that was the only workout for my legs this week, I didn't really give it the attention it needs. So that's why I like full body, because all the studies are very clear. As long as you get enough sets in the week, it doesn't matter how you arrange it, just get enough sets in. So how do I reduce the risk with a life that is the parent? Is I'll just do full body every day because on Sunday night I had a great night's sleep. Monday was a great workout. Monday night wasn't a great night's sleep, so Tuesday wasn't so great. Hopefully it's a great workout or great night's sleep tonight to ensure that tomorrow is a good workout. But I'm reducing that risk across the week to make sure at least at the end of the week I've done all I can to make sure I'm hitting all the body parts that I want to hit and the amount of volume that I want to hit to still see progress. And that's one of the reasons I really like full body. And it's also, if you're running short on time, you can do supersets, you can do circuits. I know we love walking here as like the main form of cardio. I like to go for a run every once in a while. But these are things with a full body workout style, I can go for a run tomorrow and not be super sore. And I'm able, if my kid wants to go for a bike ride, I'm not super sore and yelling at him like, hey, slow down because it was leg day today and I can't run after you. So it allows me to parent in the way that I want to parent and helps me feel good about it. Because if I can't parent in the way that I want to, or I can't show up in the way that I want to show up for my kids, my family, my work, that impacts the way I see myself. So in our eyes, full body is the way to go because it allows me to parent in the way that I want to parent and do those things. So here's a quick example what a full body workout could look like. If you haven't downloaded the free Faster Fat Loss PDF, there's an entire workout with sets, reps, exercises, all that kind of stuff in there. So if you want some more information, just make sure to go into there. The nutrition, that's the other aspect of this, is in your nutrition, our idea is how do we make this easy? So you hear a lot of people, you talked about carbs, reducing carbs. I rarely, if ever, talk to people about carbs or fats. We focus on calories, protein, and fiber. If you can nail those three, you're going to be great at whatever results you want to get. Because in the end, if we have enough protein, we're going to build the muscle that we need to build. And protein's super satiating, so we're going to feel full. If you're getting enough fiber, you're from the gut bacteria and all the things that you need to from like a non-starchy vegetable and other vegetables, you're usually getting enough of those if your fiber is in that like 12 to 15 for every 1,000 calories. And for protein, it's usually in that 0.8 grams to 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight. So making sure that those two are under control. And then if you're gaining weight and you don't want to, your calories are too high. If you're losing weight and you don't want to, your calories are too low. It's that simple. Your protein and fiber remain the same, regardless if you're in a bulk or a cut, or you're just trying to maintain. Those the protein and the fiber, they stay the same. So we just start playing with calories because we want to make it simple. The studies are again super clear on this. You can have a low carb diet, you can have a low fat diet, as long as calories, protein, and fiber are dialed in, you'll still lose weight. So why not just focus on the three things that matter and let those other things just take care of themselves? So if I'm focusing on protein, fiber, and calories, and I want to have a pizza night, I factor in pizza. If I want to have protein, fiber, or if I'm dialed in my protein, fiber, and calories, and I have want to have a high fat meal one day and then a high carb meal the next day, I can do that. So it allows for flexibility, and I feel like you need to be flexible to make sure that you can be consistent, which goes into like planning ahead. We're big on meal prep, and my theory is you're not if you're taking over an hour to meal prep, you're overthinking it because you can cook up some meat, some carbohydrates, some simple meals in an hour and have 3 to 4 to 5 days worth of breakfast, lunch, and it still allows you to be creative with dinner. But it's creating simplicity and planning ahead. And that goes back to some of the stress is that sometimes you start becoming a little bit more reactive when you don't have things readily available. So if you don't have something readily available, you're just going to react to whatever's closest. And if you're at home, maybe it's the sleeve of Oreos. Maybe if you're out at the office, it's going out for lunch at something that's maybe a little bit more calorie dense than what you would want for the diet that you're on. So planning ahead helps reduce the stress in the future. And again, if it takes more than an hour, maybe you're overthinking it and try to simplify it. So prep for success will allow you to lower that stress later on in the week. So some other things that we like to do in terms of making sure it's simple is what we call nutritional forecasting. So I'll take my phone, and we do this with all of our clients. I'll take my phone and I'll bring up MyFitnessPal and just talk through what is your protein, fiber, and calories that you want to hit. And let's create an ideal day of eating for tomorrow. So if I think about all the stress that you have going on tomorrow, so you waking the kids up, helping them get ready for school, and then you're at work all day, and then you come home, you have to make dinner. What would nutrition look like if you were going to hit your protein, fiber, and calories? And we just start brainstorming. And what this does, it gives you a visual of what it's going to take for you to be successful. And then what we end up doing is we allow them to go through that day, check in with them either later that night or the next day. How did it work? Let's do it again, but let's make some changes to make it even easier. So, was the breakfast big enough? Did you need to change your breakfast? Was the snack did you notice that you needed a snack at 9:30 or 2:30? Like, what did it feel like? Because let's say you do this for a week, you've now created that like perfect day of eating. You create 3 or 4 of these and you have many different options to be successful. Again, that you're planning ahead. And when you plan ahead, the likelihood of you being successful goes up. So that's what the nutritional forecasting is. The other thing is plan for stressful situations. Again, if you're at work, you have meetings all day. That's a stressful situation. If you were to plan ahead, think, how can I be successful? How can I create a win-win environment for that situation? Many times you'll be more successful. Because going back to we do what we do because it makes sense. If you're sitting in at work, you've had a very stressful day and you're starving, you're going to go for the easiest option. So if we can open up that awareness to say, and you start thinking, I have this other thing that I've already planned. This is going to help me get energized and be able to go through the second half of the day in the way that I want to. That's going to help your you hit your calorie goals in the way you want to hit your calorie goals. And third, I talked about eating pizza. It's like the favorite night of the week. That's the other thing I can't stress enough is like we have pizza night. I like pizza, but it's also the community aspect of it. So we talked to a guy yesterday. He likes to go with his kids to soccer practice. After soccer practice, they go to this bakery and have something. That's a way where he's able to take some time with his family, build the relationships that he needs to be successful. That's what pizza night is for us. So if I'm planning ahead and I'm doing my ideal day of eating, I may do an ideal day of eating that's in a 100 or 200 calorie deficit from where I need to be to make sure I have enough calories for those sanity meals later on in the week. Because they're not cheat meals if you plan ahead. They're a way for me to be consistent. Because if I took away all the carbs, if I took away all the pizza, I'm just going to want this even more. So why not plan it in a way where if I go through this plan and I put things, I plan ahead, then I'm able to be successful. The probability of my success goes through the roof because I've noted where I need a sanity meal on a Wednesday afternoon. I need my sanity meal Saturday brunch. So I'm able to be successful when I don't feel like I'm wanting anything because I've planned all of it out with a great week of eating, that ideal day of eating, and those adjustments of how you plan for your success. So, like I said, I can have the best workout plan in the world. I can have the best nutrition plan in the world, but if I'm overstressed, I'm not going to do it. You're never going to be successful if you're constantly in this level of stress. So how do you deal with this to help you be consistent with the nutrition and the workouts? And so something I always like to do is like journal. I have my journal right here, just taking notes throughout the day, like where am I at? I love walks. Something that we are big advocates on is going through walks throughout the day, but without headphones, without other interaction. Because so many of us, I go on my walk and I'm listening to podcasts, I'm listening to meetings, I'm doing all these things, but it's more information when a lot of times I just need that stress relief to calm down a little bit to be my best self when I show back up to work. So things like journaling, meditation, walks, and really connections. I think something again that we undervalue is just reaching out to a friend, saying, "Hey, how's it going?" or giving them a call, because it's those connections which really enrich our lives. So relying on other people to get that support system to help you be successful, lower that stress, and that lowered stress allows you to make healthier decisions along the way. So that's really the base of it. I want to see if you guys have any questions or how can you implement some of this stuff in your own life. Yeah, so do you if you're okay, do you think you can come off mute and kind of talk through that? If you don't want to, that's fine. Okay. Yeah, so they talk about sanity meals, and really the best way to implement this is like I like to on maybe it's Monday morning, and I'm looking at my week, and what I've noticed with a lot of people is their week to week is largely the same. Like the guy yesterday, his son goes to soccer practice. It's every Sunday. For us, it's pizza night. It's every Friday. So if I know that that's really when I want it, and if I'm on a like a strict diet, I'm not gonna have that meal. But if I can plan ahead and say, I know I'm gonna want 3 to 4 slices of pizza on Friday. How do I plan for that? Maybe in my ideal day of eating, I'm putting that in first. If I'm going to the bakery after soccer practice, I'm putting that in first and then allowing the rest of that ideal week or ideal day of eating play itself out where I'm still trying to hit my protein, I'm still trying to hit my fiber. And maybe because I have these sanity meals, maybe I have a smaller lunch, and maybe I have a smaller lunch and maybe a smaller breakfast the next day. And that's how I'm able to balance some of those calories. So I'm using that as a way to keep me sane throughout the week because again, this is not a sprint, it's a marathon. So how can I like my life throughout this whole journey? So like you've talked about like reducing carbs a lot. No one likes that journey. Like no one likes that style of eating. So yeah. Was there anything else that kind of took or came out that you can maybe apply? So no, I before kids, I really so this is gonna be I'm gonna do a long story and try to do it in like 1 minute. So before kids was just Brittany and I, and then before Brittany and I, it was me and my like skinny fat phase or where I felt like I could eat anything. There was a point where I knew that I needed to like eat fruits and vegetables, and I would just grab a bag of spinach and try to eat it like potato chips, knowing that like this is what I'm supposed to do, but I wasn't good at any of it. Like I could work out, and that was my thing. And so Brittany and I met, and she started taking over some of the cooking, showing me really how vegetables could taste a lot better if you just put in the smallest amount of effort, which is a thing I really like some of the delivery meals because they can make vegetables taste a lot better and then you learn how to cook. So I think Green Chef is a good one where they give you all the ingredients and then you're able to learn how to cook. That was something that was super helpful for me. And so in that journey, I then started to learn how to cook a little bit. She influenced that. But once kids came and once I started seeing my schedule become really the limiting factor, that's when I really started diving into more meal prep and trying to plan ahead a little bit more because I saw how I wasn't successful when I had to just think in the moment. When I'm reactionary, I'm largely unsuccessful at things. But I'm a project manager at heart. That's what how I was. That was my main like job as I grew up, or grew up. I'm still growing up. But in my like 20s and 30s, and so I'm a planner. If I have better options that I planned for, then my success rate just started compounding. And so I just started leaning more into that. And then even now, I don't meal prep everything. I try to meal prep like a good meal prep for me is I'll get about 2 pounds of some type of meat, cook it up. I'll cook some rice, I'll cook some black beans, some sweet potatoes, some eggs. And then usually by Wednesday, I need to go grab something else that isn't meal prep to give me a little bit of a break on Thursday. But it's a way for me to break up my week to allow me to be consistent week in and week out.
Got it. Appreciate it. I had to get the construction, the noise off a little bit, but
Yeah,
appreciate
no
that
problem.
story. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
different when like in that like dating period, you also are kind of managing in some ways like the nights out that could be, oh, it's a random Tuesday, we're going out for drinks. And then just what does that look like to create a win-win scenario? And I think a lot of us don't really look at each scenario of how do I create a win-win? And it's almost like it's either or. Either I'm not drinking or I'm not going out and I'm having just a salad and it feels awkward in some ways when you're like I'm trying to lose weight or something like that. Or I go overboard. But in almost every situation there is a win-win scenario and just thinking about it ahead of time. So something that may transfer. So when we think about vacations, like we never tell people to like work out on their vacation or um, just like be super strict on vacations because we don't think it's helpful because you're losing the
mhm.
experience. But I could say, why don't you just try to make sure you're getting 8 to 10,000 steps? Usually on vacations, you walk a lot. Try to eat something green because most of the time we forget about fruits and vegetables. And try to get some protein in today. That's about it. Um, so it's ways to create a win-win scenario because on vacations, that's not the time to lose weight. Save that for the 50 other weeks in the year. That's a time to manage the downside. And that's what a lot of this is. It's more of how can I level up by not going to the extremes and just gradually over time, I become leaner, it becomes simpler, and it just becomes a habit, which leads to that long-term success of showing up as your best self more and more and more and more often.
Mm. And so do you guys have I'm assuming you guys have a program, or I mean, I've only seen like the social post, but I haven't gone past
Yeah. Yeah, we have a
that.
one-on-one program, and with that one-on-one program, we do a lot of what we just covered. So let's just assume you sign up today. We would give you a template of a workout template that fits for your the whether you're at the gym or at the house. We'd give you a meal plan, kind of give you some macros and targets to
Hmm.
hit. And then I'm also sending you a link to do a 1 hour onboarding where that template that we provided, we talk through, all right, do you feel comfortable doing this movement? Do you have the equipment to do this movement? How can we revise this to be personal for you? Like, what is the maybe a strength or aesthetic you want to achieve? How can I revise this workout to help you do that? And then on the nutrition side, we talked through that nutritional forecasting that we did. I pull up a screen and we just share a screen. This is what it could look like for you to hit your macros 2, 3, 4, 5 different days. That's what we can do. And then if you need more ideas, here's a week worth of meal plans that you can just pick from and put in here in case you're running out of ideas. And then also kind of like those sanity meals, what does that look like? How can we create the win-win scenario? So that usually takes about an hour just to go through all of these ideas. And then every Monday we do check-ins where on our app, because that's where all this is located,
Hmm.
we'll ask like, how is your nutrition? How is your fitness? What are some of the stress points of your week, and what planning do we need to do for you to be successful? And then you just fill out the check-in. It takes like 5 minutes. If it takes you longer, you're probably overthinking it. And then I will respond with a video saying, okay, this is what I would be looking for. Let's make sure we're looking out for this, or I'm seeing some data trending in this direction that I'm concerned about. Let's look a little bit deeper into that. And that's really what the one-on-one program looks like.
Oh, okay. Um, cool, cool. Yeah, I appreciate the I just saw the email like right beforehand, so the alert, the calendar alert. So
Yeah,
but yeah, I appreciate all the info and everything.
no
So
problem. Do you have any other questions?
I think for now, I think I'm pretty good. I'll probably take a look at what you mentioned. I think you mentioned something on to check out the website, right?
Yeah, so we have a faster fat loss PDF that details like the workouts that we would do, a lot of the stuff that we talked about today.
Hmm.
And then if you obviously need more information, just most of us are reached out through Instagram. It's a great way to get
Hmm.
a hold of me, and just talk through what a plan could look like for you, because everybody's different. Everyone's coming from a different perspective. So what could that look like? We just kind of start playing through those ideas. And we can do that through the message, and then probably easiest just to get on a call. And
Hmm.
I can put the link in here. And I'll also put a link as we distribute this too.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'll keep it in mind for now and just check out the material you mentioned.
Yeah. So one of the other things that I try to talk through that may be really helpful for you. So in my profile, I think there's a link to a blog that is like the best of articles of what we've published over the last year or two. There's
Hmm.
articles about full body workouts. There's articles about nutrition, sanity meals, nutritional forecasting. we go into more detail in some of those articles. It could be a great resource for you if you're just curious about what that could look like for you, or at least how we approach certain topics.
Got it. Okay, yeah. Yeah, definitely sounds good because I feel like right now uh I'm on that in between window of
Yeah.
reaching the number I want, but it's almost like I've lost a lot of weight. But
Yeah, which is great.
it was easier to lose all that versus this like the last leg
Yeah.
of the
Yeah,
adventure, whatever you call it.
there's this idea, it's called the cost of getting lean, and like the first couple pounds, let's say you have 30, 40 pounds to lose. The first couple
Hmm.
pounds should be pretty easy. It's just you make some small changes, go for a walk a little bit more than you did before. You can lose the first couple pounds relatively easy in comparison to the last couple pounds. And that's where that cost of getting lean, at a certain point, you start playing with, now you're starting to impact how I live my life. And I have to make some structural changes to see that next pound. And that's what makes it really difficult for a lot of people to get to that ideal weight, because they're starting to weigh quality of life with the weight, but there's usually a way to create those win-win scenarios. And that's what we try to talk to people through. And I'm sure we can figure something out in your case too.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I appreciate that.
So yeah, just feel free to reach out, and we'll help you in any way we can.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for putting it together and yeah, best vibes to you guys.
All right. See ya.
See you.